Cool. Yeah. This dude waited to the very last minute. Knowing I get in here early, but whatever. It happens. I gotta go run to my ride. I'll be right back. That gives it 5 minutes to get people to jump on. Praise the Almighty. Let's run it. We got a lot of scriptures to cover. I'm gonna get right into it. Praise the Almighty. Welcome, welcome, True Hebrews United. Definitely thank the Almighty through His Son Yeshua, the only begotten of the Father. Definitely through His Son. Definitely double honor to the apostles, the prophets, the evangelists, the teachers, the elders, the bishops, the deacons across the whole world. Also, it is starting to get warmer in Phoenix. All the brothers and sisters keep the Almighty's commandments, statutes, judgments, precepts, and ways, as well as all the people that share, like, and subscribe to the channel. Definitely thank the Almighty. And I'll keep it real short so we can catch up on the time. We do got a lot of scriptures to cover. Not too much, but it'll be a shorter service because we're going to get right to the point. And then I'll do the news next week, Lord willing. So, appreciate you guys. Love you guys. We're a little late this time. I waited too long doing your reservations because normally I do it the week before and I get my times all the time. But I didn't. My alarm went off and I forgot to do it. And then when I realized yesterday, all the slots were took. So, dropped the ball. My bad on my part. So, with all that said and being done, let's let the fingers do the walking and the scriptures do the talking. Shalom. Sister Keturah, Isaiah 55. Isaiah 55. We'll go straight into it and then make up the time. Isaiah 55. Just that walk to your car, it's starting to heat up. It's going to be like, I think 103, 104 tomorrow. Springtime is officially over in Phoenix. It's done. But fortunately next week we got low weeks. So it's just going to be the low 90s this whole week. But once it fully hits the hundos, it's not going to stop until October. It will not stop until October, meaning it will always be 105 or greater till October. So let's do it. All right? Get some Isaiah 55, verse 6. Let's get it. Seek ye the Lord while he may be found. Call ye upon him while he is near. Let the wicked forsake his ways. Let the wicked forsake his ways, and the unrighteous man his thoughts. Let him return unto the Almighty, and he will have mercy upon him, and to our Yah, for he will abundantly pardon. For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are my ways your ways, said the Almighty. So he says, my thoughts aren't, I don't think like you. And you'll find most commonly with Christians, if their personality is chilled and laid back, they automatically think the Almighty's chilled and laid back. If they're more aggressive and militant, then they're going to think the Almighty's aggressive and militant. And most people will view the Almighty based upon their own personal personality. And that's not the case. Most people will think that what makes logic to you and makes sense to you makes sense to other people. And that's not the case. So, prime example, I ask people these hypothetical questions, and I ask a lot of men these. Sometimes I ask women these, and sometimes you get two different answers, and I'm just observing their reasons why, right? So, my thoughts are not your thoughts, verse 8. Neither are your ways my ways, said the Almighty. For as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. For as the rain cometh, I will stop right there. So, the Almighty doesn't think like us. It says he knows our thoughts from afar off. He knows every word before we speak it. His ways are not our ways. And we're going to deal with, once again, the culture, the biblical culture of that, of this. And what's weird is I had a conversation with this gentleman. I'll add this later on. But it's one thing to repent from profanity, or fornication, or adultery, or lying, or stealing, changing your diet, not eating pork and all that, keeping the feast days. But it's another thing to adopt the other things, the culture of the Holy Scripture. Because similar to like certain places like Saudi Arabia, Iran, Afghanistan, their laws is based off their religion. And that's how it used to be in Israel before we got dispersed. Our laws were based off our belief system. It wasn't just, oh, you go to church and here's the law, the United States law, and you just go to church. And it's two separate things. The law says it's okay to be homosexual, but the word says different, right? And so you have a separation of church and state, if you will. That's not how it was when we were in our land. So our own culture is engrafted with the word of the Most High, right? You follow me with this? So his ways are not our ways, and his thoughts are not our thoughts. So now we're going to deal with two different topics. I'm going to deal with man and female. But one, I was talking to a gentleman real quick, and he was talking about how he tells his son on their birthday every year, like, you are 1 year closer to you being kicked out. I was like, you're going to kick out your son? He's like, yeah. And I was like, why? And he's like, so I don't just, I forgot the word he used, but pretty much like, not spoil them, but like how mamas have them on the teat or whatnot. Not going to just have them keep breastfeeding or something like that. He mentioned something, and then I left it alone because it wasn't like the right time or place for us to open up the scripture, but he talks about the scriptures. But our culture is we, as people that serve the Almighty, we marry our children out. We do not kick our children out, and we're going to deal with the exceptions for that. We marry our children out. And in their mind, it says, I need to teach them to be a man. They need to teach them to be adult. Well, you had from 0 to 20 to do that. You had from 0 to 20 to do that. That's what you're supposed to get them ready for. You marry them out. You don't kick them out. But to prove that with the book, Genesis chapter 2. Verse 21. With all that said, we get done. Let's let the fingers do the walking and the scriptures do the talking. I think I already said that, but I'm saying it again. Shalom, Amber. How you doing? And Sis Whitney, you still need to, did you send the shout outs? I don't think you did, but it's all right. Genesis chapter 2, verse 21. And the Almighty caused a deep sleep to fall upon Adam, and he slept. And he took one of his ribs and closed up the flesh instead of the flesh instead thereof. And the rib which the Lord had taken from him made he a woman and brought him unto the man. And Adam said, this is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, because she is taken out of man. Therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother and cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh. And they were both naked, the man and his wife, and were not ashamed. So for all those people saying, oh, if the Almighty would have wanted Adam to have more than one wife, he would have gave him more than one in the garden. Well, he made him naked in the garden too. So you need to start, to your logic, you need to start going outside, go to work tomorrow naked. Because if he wanted to make them clothes, he would have gave them clothes in the garden, right? You notice how they want to pick and choose and cherry pick what in the garden they choose? Make sure you're a vegetarian, because they were only eating fruits and vegetables in the garden. They were naked in the garden. He only had one wife in the garden, and they were only eating fruits and vegetables. So don't just pick what fits your narrative. Don't be a hypocrite. No double standards. If you go against a man having more than one wife, then start going out, and you're going to use the garden to justify that. Start going outside naked. Start going outside naked. Because, right? If he wanted man to have clothes, he would have gave him clothes in the garden, right? That's your logic. That's the hill you're going to choose to die on. They always run to the garden, because I can clearly show you where breaking the Sabbath is a sin, or stealing is a sin, or murder is a sin, or idolatry is a sin, or eating pork is a sin. I can clearly show you that. But they do not have scripture to show where a man taking more than one wife is a sin. So what do? They run to the garden. They run straight to the garden. Why don't you just show scriptures where it's sin, New Testament or Old? Exactly. But anyways, that's what I'm talking about. My main point is you leave your mother and father and you cleave onto your wife. You get married out. We don't kick our children out once they're 20. The age of accountability is 20, by the way. It's not 18. That's the world's way. The Almighty says 20. His ways are not our ways, and his thoughts are not our thoughts. And that's the difference between we adopting the biblical culture and not the American culture. And the problem lies is when you're trying to merge. I'm from China and we do it this, but I believe in the Bible where there's things that China does not collide. You need to adopt the biblical culture. Or I'm from Jerusalem, or I'm from this, or I'm from Uzbekistan. I don't care how you do it. I don't care what your culture is in Uzbekistan. If you want to repent and come to this gospel, you got to adopt the biblical culture. And so when we go places, oh no, I don't go with that. Oh, he's 18. Hey, I don't consider my son an adult just because he turns 18. I don't care what the United States say. I care what the Almighty says. He's not an adult yet. He's not able to get baptized. He's not able to offer a sacrifice for the sins in the Old Testament. He's not an adult. And once he becomes an adult, he gets married out, right? Another scripture, Genesis 24. It's 24. And there is some exceptions to this. Genesis 24, verse 1. And Abraham was old and well stricken in age, and the Almighty had blessed Abraham in all things. And Abraham said unto his eldest servant in his house that ruled over all that he had, Put, I pray thee, thy hand on my thigh, and make thee swear by the Lord, the God of heaven and the God of the earth, that thou shalt not take a wife to my son or the daughters of the Canaanites among whom I dwell, but thou shalt go into the country and of my kindred, and take a wife for my son Isaac. And the servant said, Peradventure the woman will not be willing to follow me into the land, lest I need bring thy son unto the land from whence thou camest. Abraham said unto him, Beware that thou bring not my son unto there again. The Lord thy God of heaven, which took me from my father's house and from the land of my kindred, and spake unto me and sware unto me, saying, Unto thy seed I will give this land. He will send his angel before thee, and thou shalt take a wife unto my son from thence. So once again, he was staying with his father until it was time for him to get a wife. They said, oh, he needs to learn how to be a man and this and that. He could learn how to be the man in your home. But we're just going to show why this doesn't even make sense, because I got more scripture for that. So, most women will condemn a man that lives with his parents. Am I right? I'm pretty right. Oh, he still lives with his parents, this and this and this and that, and you condemn all that stuff for living with his parents, right? So, let's do this, dude. Let's do this. I've done this before, but we're going to do it again. All right? Okay, so you got the people that serve the Almighty, and their child lives in the home. And you got the world says, oh, he needs his car, he needs this, he needs his own place. And then you got this other guy that lives in an apartment. He's renting, right? Because our son is 25, or even, let's just say 30. He's 30 years old, still living with his parents, this and this, and he's trying to date or whatnot. When our children's ready to date, then that means he's ready to be married. That means he's ready to leave the house and cleave onto his wife and start a new family. When you kick him out at 18, with expensive as it is, we're just going to do the math. Let's see if I can do the math out of your way. I'm just going to use basic. From 18 to 22, 24, the majority of individuals, of men or women, don't make a lot of money. They got a basic job, Walmart, McDonald's, something. Their basic job. I'm dealing with the majority. Don't say, oh, that's not true because my son got it. The majority of people get a basic job at 18 to like 24. They don't, even if I went an apprenticeship right at 18 to be a journeyman, I won't finish till I'm 23 or 24, right? Just follow me with this, right? So you're paying, we're just going to say $1,000 for a studio. These days it'll be a studio, but we could say one bedroom apartment, pay $1,000. The average income for nationwide is $55,000. That's $25 an hour. That's the average. But he's 18, so he's probably making less. So he's probably making $20 an hour, $18 an hour, right? So he's probably pulling maybe $600, whatever, right? But let's say he has a car payment. So let's say $400. And this is low because car payments are like $800. Then you got food, all that other. We'll just put utilities for this. So this dude is struggling. We'll see utilities, car insurance. This dude from 18 is struggling. And they might even have a roommate with their buddy, right? There we go. He's struggling because you kicked him out at 18 and he's trying to figure it out and he's doing all this stuff. But my son, I say, hey son, you're 20 now. Here's how it's going to go down. You're going to pay us, because I really don't need your money. You're going to pay us $600, but here's the deal. $300 goes to me. $300 goes in a savings account. Every paycheck, whether a week, or if he gets paid twice a week, maybe twice a month. And you're going to send me a monthly statement that $300 is getting in there. I don't want to see, oh, I want to get a better car, and once it gets to $2,000 and $10,000 and $20,000, and this is to save up to buy your house. And this is your rent. Because you don't really need your children's money, right? They've been living with you the whole time and eating up your food, and they never, so you pay rent. It's just like, that's just to cover the food you eat, right? So in the course of 5 years, most people are paycheck to paycheck. If you look this up, the average American, this is probably worldwide, is only 2 or 3 paychecks from bankruptcy. The average American only has a saving account of roughly $500 to $1,000. So he probably only has in his savings account $500. Within a couple of paychecks, my son's going to be at a G. He should be able to save 3 G's a year just in his savings. And with his extra money, he could still buy his car. He don't have to worry about food. He don't have to worry about utilities. And he's stacking. He's going to college, or he's pursuing a career, or he's an apprentice, and he's stacking his money and saying, here's the deal. You pay me this, the other one is going in your savings, and this is for a house, and you do not touch that. If you touch that money, you're going to get kicked out, and you're going to pay real rent. You're not going to pay no $300 rent. You're going to pay some real rent. Now, I'm just shooting the numbers out there. You're going to really feel how it is. So it behooves you, your rent's still $600, but you're just going to put half in your savings, and this is going to be for your house. And so this dude coming at 18, 19, 20, 27, he's about ready. He got a nice car. His car's paid off about time in 3 or 5 years, where this man probably didn't pay off his car, 5-year or 7-year plan, or got his car later on, right? Have this car payment or something. He has a car paid off. He got 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 G's stacked up, just living from 18 to 25. He got 30, 40 G's. Now he's ready to start dating. And not only is he ready to start dating, he's ready to start dating with intentions to start in a family and get married. So by the time he finds this girl, because the world like, oh, he's 27 living with his parents, and think he's less of a man, because this dude has his own apartment and his own car. This has his own car, but he lives with his parents. You think he's more. But in about 10 years, when he's married and they have a house, and you date him and you're living paycheck to paycheck, you're going to really see who's more wise. This is why when you obey the Bible, you get biblical. When you obey the spiritual, you get physical effects from this. Not only that is, we'll deal with the prodigal son in a little bit, but we're going to come back to that. In retrospect, so I'm trying to do some more words. Retrospect, in the past stories or in the past situations, there is a time where you do need to kick out your children. So, short-term minded, go ahead and give me Deuteronomy 21. Deuteronomy 21, verse 18. Let's get it. If a man have a stubborn and rebellious son, which will not obey the voice of their father or the voice of their mother, and that when he chastises them will not hearken. So that means we use corporal punishment. Oh, he did this, and oh, I don't want to give my kids this. That's not what the Bible says. Chastise them, will not hearken unto him. Then shall the father and the mother lay hold on him and bring him out of the elders to the elders of the city unto the gate of the place, and they shall say unto the elders of the city, this our son is stubborn and rebellious. He will not obey our voice. He is gluttonous and a drunkard. He just stays home and play video games, right? All the men in the city shall stone him with stones that he die, so thou shalt put evil away from among you, and all of Israel shall hear and fear. Some of you guys won't make it into the kingdom because you don't love the Almighty that much to do that. To really say, hey, you're stubborn and rebellious, we gave you spankings, we're going to take you to the elders. To say, oh, well, and you'll pass, and you'll let your kids do certain things. And while we don't do that because the penalty for adultery was to be stoned as well, you're supposed to cut these children off. And you're not doing it. And so you're outside the will of the Most High. So, once again, you have 2 kids. I'll do it over here because it's Phil. You got 2 kids, right? We'll go this way. One's in school. Are they respect your rules? They're keeping the Sabbath. They're serving the Almighty. They respect your guidelines. They're not coming home drunk. They're not coming home at the late night hours. They're respectful, and they're paying their rent. They're doing good. They're in an apprenticeship or they're in college. You keep them in there because you're not unequally yoked. You have another son that's coming home drunk, bringing girls in and out, or the daughters end up pregnant. It's like, well, if you're starting a family, then get out. If my son was in my house and he's got a girl pregnant because you want to fornicate, then apparently you're at the point of you're man enough to start a family. Then leave. Well, I don't have a car. How am I gonna? That's not my problem. You decided to start a family, so you said you're man enough to go take care of this child and take care of this without our help. And so when you go do that, right? When you go do that, then hey, kick them out. Because the Bible says, be not unequally yoked together with unbelievers. For what fellowship righteous with the unrighteous? What communion like with darkness? So you could be unequally yoked with your children. You could be unequally yoked with the sinner at your job site, with your mom, with your dad. It says, if they're unbelievers, apparently if you have a son or a daughter and he's 20 years old and they don't want to abide by the house guidelines, and they don't want to, they're just staying home and play video games, they're not saving money, they're not paying rent, kick them out. That is not the purpose of, they will never get married at that point because they spend all their time playing video games and chasing high scores, and they're losing in the game of life. They're winning in some video games and pay to play and online in-app purchases and on the video games and new skins and everything. But in the game of life, they are losing. Kick them out. Because apparently you got to learn the hard way. And we're going to deal with that in a little bit, right? So, yes, that's the exception clause. If they want to be a sinner, then get out. I'm not going to be unequally yoked with my son or my daughters. If you want to cut off your relationship with the Father, your heavenly Father, then by default, you're going to cut off your relationship with your natural father. I'm not going to be unequally yoked. I see you, I say hi, stuff like that, but there's nothing we have in common. I'm chasing light and you chasing darkness. You just share my same DNA. Your soul is independent of me. We just share the same DNA. When we go to judgment, it's not like you're going to be saved because you're my son or you're my daughter. You're going to get judged for your own sin. It has nothing to do with me, right? So there is an exception clause for that. But, and I showed you guys the diagram. When they get to a point, and I'll say my preferences, they shouldn't be dating. This is why we marry them out. If they're not ready to get married, then why are you dating? Always know, when you're ready to date, then you're dating with intention. And the intention is to see that, am I compatible with this woman for marriage? What's your sense of humor? Do you believe in spankings? What's your thoughts on this? Do you read? Do you pray? How good are you with your money? What's your goals? Do you want children? Do you want to build a house? Do you want to start a business? Are you business oriented? Are you nurturing? Would you make a good mother? Or would you make a good father? Would you make a good husband? Would you make a good wife? You're seeing if you're compatible for marriage. So what is the world says, oh, you need to date for 5 or 6 years. Why? All that is going to do is lead you into fornication. Because if you're dating and you're not even ready for marriage, then you're just going to fall in fornication. What else is going to come out of that? But when you're dating to see if you're compatible, it don't take that long. 6 months to a year max. Then, hey, let's get married. All this and this. You got in a disagreement, and guess what? You got in an argument, and there was no makeup sex. You just actually resolved it. You actually had to handle situations without intimacy involved. So then when you get married, that's just icing on the cake. There's no point. If I'm going to get a girl's number or I'm going to court a girl, it's to see if I'm compatible for a wife. And at that point, when my son has 100 G's, 60 G's, he has a car, he's able to have money if they need to buy a van or buy another car because you got kids on the way. He's ready to buy a house. Yeah, they may move into an apartment or something for now, but he's looking for houses. Shortly after they get married, they're ready to buy a house and whatnot. Like everything's ready to start a family. It's plug and play. He is ready to start a family, not ready to live paycheck and paycheck, where boyfriend and girlfriend are living in an apartment and they're struggling paycheck to paycheck because the average person is only 3 paychecks away from bankruptcy. They're only 3 paychecks away. Most people are only like 3 paychecks away from being evicted. The majority, you can look this up, the average income, most people do not even have $5,000 in their bank account. So don't tell me this is a man, but he's not a man. And this is why it says, my ways are not your ways. My thoughts are not your thoughts. When it says a man shall leave his mother and father and cleave unto his wife, he's ready to start that family. So they could bash women, bash men, and other men. Oh, you still live with your parents. Other men do that. That's the way of the world. I got scripture for that. That's how the world says it. But his ways are not our ways, and his thoughts are not our thoughts. And when he says you marry your children out, you marry your children out. You marry them out. There are some exceptions. Maybe you may have a daughter that doesn't want to get married. I just want to get myself to, I don't want to get married or whatever. Okay, well, leave whenever you're ready financially to leave, you can leave. You know, obviously I can't marry you out. You don't want to get married, then whenever you feel you want to, if you want to stay here, you stay here. If you want to leave, you leave. I don't mind my kids staying here until they're 40 and 50. It doesn't bother me. If my daughters is 30 and they still want to live with me, okay. If they're 50 and still want to, there's going to come a time where I need to live with them or they need to live with me. Maybe when I'm like 92, I'm going to want them to live with me. So if they just stayed living with me, I don't look down upon that. It is what it is. We marry them out, right? I don't see why everyone has, I'm kicking them. As soon as they're 18, I'm ready. Why did you even have kids at that point? Is it that bad? Why did you have kids to where you just want to kick them out at 18? I don't get that concept. They always boast, I'm giving him a security, a straight mailing address package. As soon as he turns 18, here's your new mailing address package. And they brag about kicking your, why even have children then? If you're so happy to kick them out, just don't have children. But that's my thought. It doesn't take that long to date either. Especially if they're in the Almighty. How long does it take to see if you're compatible? 6 months? A year max? This is why people are dating for 20 years, because they're comfortable with staying in fornication. They're comfortable with boyfriend and girlfriend. And this is why it stops men from maturing, is because they'll be a boyfriend and girlfriend for years as they get to where they need to get. And why is that? Because it's going to take him 3 times longer. My son is going to surpass, Lord willing, is going to surpass almost every person that decides to kick your kid out and let them struggle for 10 years. They're going to struggle. 18, 19, 20, they don't have no resume. Or if they're in school, they're struggling. They're going to struggle and get these bare minimum jobs and can't save money because I'm living in this apartment and the cost of living is high and the car insurance is high. And now you're taking like 10 years out of your son's life and out of your daughter's life just by letting them struggle, by kicking them out when they're 18. Just wasting years of their life when they could just be here. And when they're here, that's when you are their counselor and you are their mentor. Because they're coming home every day and you're like, hey, how was work? Oh man, work sucked, this and this, I'm dealing with this situation, do this and this and this. Or start putting out applications here. And you're there the whole time. Maybe they're there every week and they at least eat dinner. They live with you and you eat dinner with your sons and your daughters every week. And yeah, they're 21 or 23, 20, but they still talk to their moms and they still talk to their pops and you still have an opportunity to give them counsel. So let's get into this other scripture. This is why you see Mexicans and Asians. You'll want to ride a house and you see Mexican Asians and you see like 10 cars. Like the whole parking lot's full and you could tell they're all in one car. Because they all stay in the home and they don't do it necessarily biblical, but they stay in that home until their kids are ready and then they buy another home. They don't just send their kids to an apartment. I'm not speaking for all. There's a lot of Mexicans. But some of the Mexicans that are family knit, joint knit, the ones that are joint knit, you'll see like 7, 8 cars for this house. And his cousins and brothers and sons and little. And then once they get, then they go buy another one. And then they go buy another one. And then they go buy another one. And then through 20 years, while you're like, look at them, I got my own place. In 20 years, when they surpass you, and now they have 4 or 5 homes, or when you see a whole bunch of Asians, same thing. Seen it in San Diego, and I've seen it in the Bay. I haven't really been paying attention in Phoenix, but a whole bunch of Asians all in the same house, and then one's ready, they're ready. They buy another house. They don't go to no apartment. They buy another house. because they're stacking chips, staying in the same house. And it's a slow run, but then it ends bigger gains. They catch up. You think you're beating them because you're the rabbit and they're the turtle. And in the end, they have a house and you're still paying. When they get kicked out, a lot of them mess up their credit. When they're here, it's kind of hard to mess up your credit because you're not charging them a lot and they're saving and they're learning how to be responsible with their finances because you'll be helping them. So more likely he's able to build his credit and get that 700 credit score. Get this. Versus them, credit card debt is on an all-time high and credit card default is on an all-time high. So there's some 18, 19, 20, 21s, 25-year-olds right now with bad credit because they got kicked out when they were 18. And guess what? Money's so tight, I got to use some credit in my credit card to get some groceries. And then now, next this paycheck, they cut my hours or something happened or my car broke down and I got to use the credit card again. And then, I'm only making the minimum payments. And then now I'm above 30%. So now my credit score is dropping. All because, we kick them out when they're 18. They got to learn how to be a man. No, you're trying to teach them to struggle. You're actually setting your children up for failure by kicking them out instead of marrying them out. If they want to be a loser and just play video games and don't get a good paying job and not trying to get a better job and not trying to get a career and not trying to build up their resume, if they're not doing nothing, then yeah, kick them out. You're not doing nothing anyways. Me letting you stay here is to build a better future than I had. Because I had to start from scratch when I was 18 and I wasted 10 years of my life struggling. So you don't have to. That's why you still stay here, so you can have a better opportunity than I ever had. So if you're going to take advantage of that, then get out. I'll just save the money. You eat too much, especially you boys. You eat too much anyways. You know what I'm saying, right? So go ahead and give me Luke chapter 15. Some of them need to get kicked out. I'll read this right now. We'll read about the people that maybe it's good for them to get kicked out. Luke chapter 15, verse 11, right? Luke chapter 15, verse 11. Let's get it. And he said, a certain man had 2 sons. The younger of them said, Father, give me my portion of goods that falleth with me. And he divided unto them his living. And not many days after, the younger son gathered all together and took his journey in a far country. And there was wasted his substance with riotous living. So he got his inheritance for his dad, because a good man leave inheritance to his children's children, right? But does that sound like he was just living on his own, or he was still with his father? He was with his father. We get married out. But he says, I want to dip. Just give me my inheritance. You have 2 sons. You left us inheritance. Can I get mine early? I know you didn't die, but can I get mine early? And he wasted it on riotous living. And that's what I'm getting at with the brain aspect of it. The mindset of him versus the mindset of him. And this is not an absolute. There's exceptions to every cause. I'm trying to do it without covering out. But when you're here and you serve the Almighty and you kick out your son, the convictions of the Sabbath or not eating pork, not listening to bad music, he's getting influence from just his friends. He may call you once a week. The likelihood of him falling into fornication or her getting pregnant or her falling into bad situations or bad credit or debt or whatever is higher than when they come home every day and you eat with your son or your daughter once a week. You are that good conscience. You are that person, that example. Let's say, hey, we'll deal with this situation. Oh, your car broke down? Here, let's work on it. Let's YouTube some videos. Let's work on it together. You're there. When he goes through car problems, you're there right with him. When he goes through relationship problems, which he shouldn't be dating unless he's married, you're right there with him. When he goes through situations on the job where he wants to stab or something, you're that good conscience. You're the mother or father, because they're coming home every day. Your son and daughter are still coming home. Yeah, they're adult, but they're saving money, stacking money. They have a goal. They have a direction. You say, what's your direction, son? I don't know. Well, you need to pick something, and you could detour, but you got to pick a direction, because you can't just be stagnant. Pick something and go that way, and if you got to branch off, then branch off. There's a time when I want to start a water-free detail, and that fell through. And there's other business I came in. Then we started the moving company. That did good. I sold the moving company. Now I'm into investment, and that made me way more money than the moving company. So now stuff branched off, but I have a direction. I have a direction for Belize. I have a direction for True Vision. I have a direction for what I want for my sons and for my daughters. I have a direction, have a goal, and you're there the whole time. They are having a good conscience because you're there for their work, versus you kick them out. And now, how many mistakes have you made from 18 to 27? if you knew, if you had your parents there, I don't know if you had good parents, maybe you wouldn't have made some of those decisions. Maybe if you came and you didn't have to struggle paycheck to paycheck and do what I got to do. Some women date men because they're so broke that this man come in and they just live with the man. And then when the man treats them like trash and the man kicks them out and get out, now they're homeless. And it's like, you put your sons or your daughters and then your grandchildren in bad situations simply because you're so eager to kick your kids out. What's wrong with you guys? It's almost like you hate them. But it'll be the same people that get mad when your kids send you to a convalescent home and don't want to visit you. Oh, my kids never come visit me. I'm at this convalescent home. They visit me like once a year. Oh, yeah, the one that you kicked out when I was 18? The one that you knew I had a job and I was doing somewhat good and you kicked me out and now I had to struggle and I had to live with a roommate that I didn't like, or I had to be in a situation that I didn't like and I was by myself because you like kicking me out? Oh, kind of weird that you're in a convalescent home and I don't visit you. Kind of weird how that works out, huh? Kind of weird how the work comes right back to you, huh? That's that stuff. This is why we stick to the Most High. I don't care what the world says. His ways are not our ways and his thoughts are not our thoughts. So we need to stop looking down at men that live with their parents that have a goal in a direction. I'm not talking about the losers that I just work at, say, some base job. I'm not going to shoot nothing because I don't want to tear down any person that works these jobs. But I have some cul-de-sac jobs, some job that there is no level of investment and I will not retire. There is no 401k. There is no pension. There is no medical benefits. There is nothing. I have a dead-end job. You can say whatever. I got this dead-end job and I just make enough for my car, put gas in my car, and I just play video games after work. No, kick that person out. Kick him out. If your son or your daughter's a loser, kick him out. We support winners. We don't support losers, right? So, don't you call your kid a loser. If they're doing loser stuff, I may not call them a loser, but they know that I know, hey, you're being a loser right now. So you need to start being a winner, right? So, let's go with, give me Proverbs chapter 3. We're going to deal with the women now. Proverbs chapter 3, verse 7. Proverbs chapter 3, verse 7. Be not wise in thy own eyes, fear the Lord and depart from evil. Now, in the direct context of that scripture, it's saying depart from evil. I don't think it's okay to do certain things that put you in a position of sin, but you could be wise in your own eyes. In their own eyes, yeah, I want some man that have direction. He got his own place. He got a car. He got a decent job. He got a good head on his shoulder. That is correct. If you met someone that is doing that, for the most part. Not saying he's not a narcissist or abusive or a liar or a thief or unfaithful. Not saying all of that stuff, right? But saying, okay, he's on the right direction. So it does make logical sense. But on the grand scheme of things, if he's here, there's only so much of the world he partake in too. There's only so much, hey, bro, what are you doing coming from a club? We don't do that stuff here. If he's abiding by his parents' guidelines, hey, you probably have a better candidate, a better caliber person, because he's still with his mom and his parents, and he's stacking chips in his direction. I'm saving up to start this business. My mom and dad's helping me out. I'm living here. I'm able to save up to start this business. I want this car. I can pay off this car in 2 years instead of 7 years. They got 7-year plans now because cars are so expensive. But guess what? My son can pay it off in 2 years. Because he's not struggling to pay rent, living paycheck to paycheck. He's not struggling. He pays the rent. He's making sure he's saving a certain amount per paycheck. And he has his play money to go with his buddies and have fun and go to the beach and do some stuff. He has all this play money. Takes care of his bills and utilities. Take care of his car maybe. Doing his credit card, building his credit. By the time he leaves, he probably have a 750, 800 credit score. Got 60, 70 G's in the bank, and he's ready to take on the world. He's been dating this lady. They're ready to get married. Bam. Bam, they're good. You know what I'm saying? They're good. Half the time, what most people do, what they don't do no more, is even the money that they pay for rent, you just save it. And then there you go. You're married now. Here you go. Here's your money back. What? Yeah. I didn't need it. What did I need your rent for, money? I mean, maybe money's tight. You didn't need it. But here's some of what I didn't use. What, right? So, carrying on. Let's deal with the woman now. Let's. Did you send some shout outs by chance? No, she didn't. All right. So, go ahead and give me Proverbs. Proverbs. Chapter 31. Proverbs chapter 31. Proverbs chapter 31. So now, we're going to deal with the woman with degrees versus the women that stay-at-home wives. Woman with degrees versus the one that's a stay-at-home wife. All right, so the woman that's strong and independent, the woman that's career-driven, that wants to climb the corporate ladder, and it's nothing wrong with the women that want to do that, but what is wrong is when they look down upon stay-at-home wives. That's the problem, because the Almighty says, my ways are not your ways, neither are my thoughts your thoughts, said the Almighty. And that's the problem that lies with it. So, let's start reading this. I'm going to break some of this down. Proverbs chapter 31, verse 18. Proverbs 31, verse 11. 10. Proverbs 31, verse 10. Who could find a virtuous woman? For her price is far above rubies. The heart of her husband doth safely trust in her, so that he shall have no need or spoil. He shall have no need of spoil. So it's kind of ironic when now he's describing a virtuous woman, and automatically he describes a woman that takes care of her husband, that builds her husband. Let's keep going. Now, there's more than one that defines that, right? She seeketh wool and flax and worketh diligently with her hands. So she's not lazy. A woman that comes home and say, why is the house not clean? What did you do all day? I worked a 10-hour shift, and why is the house dirty? And why does the kid still have a diaper that looks like he peed on it for like 8 hours? And what did you plan for us to eat for dinner? Oh, no, that doesn't go. Not with the virtuous one, with the lazy one, or with the one that's career driven. Well, I had to work 8 hours too, and I just got off from work and this and this. And so the house gets neglected. When two people leave, you cannot say that the house is not getting neglected when you have two people working. And sometimes you just send your kid to daycare during the time where from 0 to 5 is their most impressionable time where they need to be with the parents, and both parents are gone and they're just sent to some daycare and whatever poison they're feeding them, right? But let's keep going. She is like a merchant ship. She bringeth her food from afar off. She riseth wise yet night, and giveth meat unto her household and to a portion to her husband. Someone, well, I'm working, so I can't wake up in the morning and make you breakfast, or I can't do this, or I can't wake up at night because I work a night shift, and there's certain things that they cannot do. And like I said, it's nothing wrong with your daughter single and she wants to be a doctor, a nurse, anything. I'm not saying not that. Is they look down upon housewives. Almost like they think if you're a housewife, you're a loser or you're lazy. And this is why they go into this is why so many women with degrees, you can look this up in Google, are the most single. The most single women are women with degrees. The career-driven women. Because they say, I'm just going to chase the career and not chase a husband or not chase children and not chase a family. And here's the thing that I don't like about that. Is because you will help build a sinner's company. You work for some law firm or you work for a hospital, and you are building a sinner's company and fulfilling his dream. That's what you're doing. You get this career and you get this degree, and You go to the workforce and you're fulfilling that man's dream and you're building that man's house, that company. But then if another woman, like a biblical woman, decides that, guess what? I'm not going to build some other man's dream, fulfill another man's dream, or build another man's empire. I'm going to build my home. I'm going to be virtuous and I'm going to take care of my home. Because when you're working 40 hours and you're trying to be a CEO and you're chasing this career and you're doing this, the house is getting neglected. And this is where the arguments come. It's like, well, I work at 40 hours too and I got to come home and clean and take care of the kids. Yeah, because that's not your job anyways. You're taking on that curse. You're choosing to chase that career. Your job was to cleave onto your husband and follow his lead. But you're trying to do a side quest. And I get it. Sometimes in a marriage, a wife has to work for you guys to make it because of the income. Totally understandable. I'm talking about the women that are career driven and they frown upon being, I ain't going to just be no housewife, and they talk trash about it just like they talk trash. I can't date no man that just still live with their parents. These women, these men that say that these things are garbage. Their mindset is distorted. They're of the world. And so you want to build this, or when we read in the verses, women, we're going to keep reading, you build your home. How about you build your husband? When's the last time you build your husband up? When's the last time you see what's your goals? Hey, we're going to start this business. We're going to do this. Well, I can't really help you too much doing that because I got to work this, and I can't really clean the house if I got to work 40 hours, and I can't really spend time. We'll just pay for a tutor. I can't do the ABCs and teach it, help them with their homework because I'm tired and I'm getting off work too. And that's what happens. Why do you want to just get this degree and be career driven and do all this stuff? When is your dream going to be having a happy home? I feel that sometimes their dreams of climbing the corporate ladder succeed their dreams and their ambition of having a happy home. And you'll find that when they get their degree and when they say, I got my car, I got my own house, I got my degree, I got a good job, this and this, they are the most bitter. Because now you're at the point when you're in your 32s and 33s where men your age or above your age are going to date younger than you. And so you gave your good years building this man's empire and chasing this dream and chasing this degree and chasing this stuff and talking trash about housewives. And then now these women that worked at Taco Bell as a cashier are married and you have this degree and you're single and bitter. And then they don't get it. And then they complain and rant on YouTube and Instagram. How is it these simple women that works at Dairy Queen is getting cuffed up and I got a degree in this and this? This is because you placed the degree over building a home. Back in the day when women says, man, when I grow up, I want to get me a good husband and I want to cook for him and I want to this and that. And they'll say stuff like, I want to cook for him and I want to cuddle up and watch movies. And when they say their stuff, they're saying things that they want to do for this man. Versus this, I'm strong and independent. I don't need no man. I got my own car. I got this. No one wants to marry that. They want codependent. Why do you want to be independent? How about you find a man you could depend on? Because if you find a good man, then he's a man that's dependable. When you find a loser, then once you say I'm pregnant, he's gone. Once you get in an argument, he ghosts you. Once this, find a dependable man. When you have a company and you're hiring people, you want a dependable employee. You don't say, I'm a strong and independent company. You need dependable employees. You need a dependable wife. You need a dependable husband. So you could be codependent. Right? So let's keep going. You want a strong and codependent woman, not no independent. If you don't need me, then why even date? Just die alone, right? Let's keep going. She rises wise yet night, and giveth meat unto her household and a portion to her maidens. She considereth her field and buyeth it, so she's wise. And with the fruit of her hands she planteth the vineyard. So she's doing gardening work. She's building a home. She's building her home. The land that she's buying is for her family. Let's keep going. She girdeth her loins with strength, and strength within her arms. She perceiveth that her merchandise is good, and her candle goeth not by night. She's willing, if she has to stay up late, she wakes up 2 a.m. because the little one's throwing up, she's the one doing it. He's got to go to work. He's got to go fight the world. You're home taking care of the household. You're building your house. And the society will think that these career CEOs, corporate, whatever, are better than housewives. But the Almighty says that these housewives are better than them. If you have an 80% chance to get in a divorce, 80% of divorces are filed by women. And it increases by 10% to 90% if a woman has a degree. If a woman has a degree, it's something that her competitive and finding a corporate ladder, climbing the corporate ladder, makes her less likely to be content. And two, imagine if only 8%, I use a lot of statistics a lot, only 8% makes six figures or more. So let's say she gets this degree and she's part of this 8%. Now she wants a man that makes equal or greater. So now you want the top 8%. But not all women with degrees look the top 8%. They're probably average looking. So you may not have that advantage. But more so is now you just canceled out the construction workers that make $70,000, $80,000, that make $50,000. You just said they are unqualified because you want someone that makes equal or greater. And what you did is you priced yourself out the market. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't expect that. But now you don't look at other men as a leader. You said, because you don't make certain enough, I don't have to accept you. I don't have to date you. And if I chose to date you, I'm going to look at you as less than. There's more things that a man brings to a woman other than financial gains. If all you see me as money, then all I need to see you as vagina. If I only see you as a sex object, you will not like that. So why would you just discredit a man only based off of income? He could be the best father and only make $50K a year. He could be the best father and only make $40K a year. He can be the best husband for you and only make $60K a year. But because you chased the degree and now you make $80K or $100K or whatever, no. So you just lowered him down by all he could provide. All the only value he brings is a paycheck. And if he doesn't bring equal or greater than that, and this is why the world is so backwards, because these same women will talk trash against housewives. But then why are you the most single then? Because the majority of housewives don't have degrees. They're not strong and independent. So if you're so valuable, wouldn't you be cuffed up the most? But you're cuffed up the least. So how valuable are you? Because we keep scores by marriage. That's how we keep in scores. Not by degrees, not by strong and independent, not by what car and what house you have. And I got my own house paid off and whatnot, whatever. That's not how the Almighty keeps scores. We keep scores by marriage. And if we're dealing with being virtuous, a lot of these descriptions are dealing with you being married. I'm not saying a married woman is more valuable than a single woman. If you're keeping your virtue and you're keeping your legs closed and she's staying faithful, then that's fine. If you're a wise woman serving the Almighty and you're just single, you still hold your value. So let's keep going. Verse 17, she girded up her loins with strength and strengthened in her arms. She perceived that her merchandise is good and her cattle go up not by night. She lay up her hands to the spindle and her hands hold to the distaff. So she's not lazy. So a godly woman, a virtuous woman is not lazy and she's building her home. You're not lazy, but you're building a sinner man's dream empire. She's building her husband's empire and you're building some sinner man's empire. But yet you feel you're better? You don't have time with your 40 hours to build your husband's empire because you're working your 40 hours. So that's 40 hours. She's building her house for 40 hours every week, plus some, and you're building another man's empire for 40 hours a week, but yet you feel you're better than that? You feel you're better. Let's keep going. Verse 19, she laid up her hands to the spindle, her hands hold to the distaff. She stretched her hand to the poor, so she's reaching forth her hands to the needy. So you take care of the poor and the needy, walking by, help them out with some food or something. She is not afraid of the snow, for her household and all her household are clothed with scarlet. She maketh coverings and tapestry. Her clothing is silk and purple. You'll see where the wise women, wives or whatnot, they'll wait till summer's over, right? And then once the sale goes, they'll buy all the summer clothes 20, 30, 50% off. And they'll buy 1 or 2 sizes bigger than their kids. So when the next year comes, she already has clothes for them. And when winter's over and those heavy jackets, there's noise jackets and hoodies, instead of them being $50, they're 50% off because winter's over, and she'll buy them and they'll go and then have them for their son or daughter. So she's saving money. That's what that's saying, but she's actually making the clothes, but that's saving money. Or when she says, hey, I go to this grocery store to get my meats because it's cheaper to get my meats here. Then I go to this grocery store to get my regular stuff. Then I go to the 99-cent store to get the little Romano stuff. You could tell you have a good one when they go to multiple grocery stores to get things because they know what saves money, and what saves money will help build the household. But you may not get that from 40-hour career, strong and independent. You won't get those. It's the little nuances that distincts a virtuous woman for a regular woman. The little distinctions that you'll say, that one's virtuous and that one's just a cookie cutter, just run through the mill, just like everyone else. Because not everyone else is virtuous, right? Let's keep going. Verse 22, she makes her coverings with tapestry and her clothing with silk and purple. Her hands is known in the gates, and he sitteth among the elders of the land. And we're like, oh, that smells good when you're microwaving food. And I'm like, oh, that smells good. Who made you that? You're like, oh, my wife made it. Man, they're eating little sandwiches or something, or they got to buy off the truck, or they got to run on their break time and go get some McDonald's, and they see that you coming with little ribs and potatoes and stuff that smell good, tastes good. They're like, man, she be cooking you some good stuff, huh? I'm like, yep, that's what's up. He gets praise in the gates. That's a woman that builds her home. That's not the career-driven, strong, and independent woman. That's a woman that's building her home. So, let's keep going. Let me read the last of this. She maketh fine linen and selleth it, and deliver her goodness into her merchant. Strength and honor in her clothing. She shall rejoice in the time to come. She openeth her mouth with wisdom, and her tongue is the law of kindness. She looked well to the ways of her household. It's hard to do that with 40 hours. I'm not saying you can't. But it's hard to do that with your 40 hours. It says the curse thorns and thistles by the sweat of your brow. That's his curse to take care of his home. I know there's situations where for you guys to make it, you guys got 3 or 4 kids or whatever, you need both to do that. Both. But your goal as a man should get to the point to where she doesn't have to work. She could want to work, but she don't have to work. At any time she could say, you know what, I'm tired. I just want to stay home. No problem. I got it. We may not go on vacations as much or go on as many dates, but we'll be all right. And that should be a man's goal. Not to say, oh, I want to get me a woman that's a nurse that make good money. No, you're trying to escape the curse. The curse for you, thorns and thistles by the sweat of your brow. Now you got to work. In the garden, everything was grown for free. You didn't have to, you just tend to it. A little pruning here, you didn't have to plow the ground and the heat and in the snow and do all that. No, you didn't have to do that. Sowing and reaping all that, you just tend to it. It grew on its own. Kind of like beliefs. You just plant a seed and you don't even water. You just plant it in rainy season and just let it go. And a couple years later, you're getting fruit, right? It's kind of like a small Garden of Eden right there in Belize. But now you got to work. And hers, he should have rule over you, submit unto your husband, and take care of the house. That's your job, is to guide the house. That's not your job to work. So when you're tired and you don't want to put energy, or I'm too tired to be intimate or whatever, that's your problem. No one told you to get a job. You're choosing to take that curse. Well, it's just this. That's on you. You want to choose to work and then you're tired and you can't spend time with the kids or this or that, too tired to do other stuff, then that's your problem. You're wrong. How about you just stay at home? I ain't staying at home and this and this and that and that. I ain't going to be a man's slave and all the other stuff they say. That's garbage. But let's keep going. Let me read this comment. Yeah, I agree with what she said. The stay-at-home mothers, they pretty much full-time. They're on call all the time. Whether 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, kids get sick, they're staying up, breastfeeding, everything. You know, it's no time off. So, give me 1 Corinthians chapter 3. Last 2 scriptures. First Corinthians chapter 3, verse 18. That's when I started investing in myself, because the best investment, I have dreams And I hope you men out there and you women out there have dreams and ambitions. Like when I grow up, I want to do this. I want to do this. I want to build this. I want to do this. You know what I'm saying? And I had dreams, and I spent a lot of my youth building someone else's dreams. Someone else, when I did security, someone else said, I'm going to start a security company. And he probably had a wife saying, yeah, let's go do it. And he started a security company. And then when I started working for, I think his A-class security, I got my guard counter on. Now I'm working for this company, and him and his wife are fulfilling their dreams, and I'm helping fulfilling their dreams. And I'm spending all my youth making other sinners wealthy. And I'm serving the Almighty. I'm spending all my youth building another man's dream, building another man's vision, building another man's empire. When am I going to build my own? And that's when I started my moving company. And that's when I started investing. And then my investments started doing good in 2021, and now we're doing real good. I'm rocking. I'm pretty sure that I'm not going to have to wait till 55 to retire or 62 for Social Security. I'm not even going to have to depend on that. You know what I'm saying? Lord knows the future, but I'm doing pretty good, right? And so that's the thing. She builds her husband's dreams. She jumps on her program and she runs it and builds it and makes it easier, and she reaps the benefit of it. When you see those women in those nice vehicles and like, oh, that, and she's going out and taking the kids and doing all this fun stuff, she was there from the start. She was there from the start. She helped build that, right? So, 1 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 18. Let's get it. Let no man deceive himself. If any man of you seem to be wise in this world, let him become a fool, that he may be wise. So be stupid. Oh, I'll let my kids stay with me until they get married out, and the world will think I'm stupid. I'm a fool. What? You're just gonna what? You're gonna baby them? They're never gonna grow up with this and this and this. No, you set your expectations and say, hey, you're a man now. Here's my expectations to stay at this house. This is what I want done. This is what we good, and I want to set you up for success. And some kids are rebellious. They're gonna run out and no, I don't want to abide by your rules and this, and I want to be able to come home when I want to come home, and I don't want to have to be home by 10. Hey, I got work in the morning. You need to be home at a reasonable hour. You can't be waking me up 12 at coming home just because you're chilling with your boys during the week. Hey, at the weekend, like whatever rules you decide to do, right? And they're willing to ride with it. They still have their freedom. They're adults, right? But they still confine to these rules. They'll look at us like we're foolish. But look what this says. Become a fool then. For the wisdom of this world is foolishness with the Most High. For it is written, he taketh the wise in their own craftiness. It says the wisdom of this world is foolishness. He still live with his parents and he's 32. That's foolishness. She's a stay-at-home wife. What? She was just too lazy. She couldn't achieve nothing. She didn't want to go to school. She didn't want to get a career, this and this. She's not career, this and this. She ain't strong and independent. Oh, no. That's foolishness. That's foolishness. Even with that statement, the majority of bitter, look at the women that are single, that are 34, they got a degree, or got their own car. They're miserable. They wasted their youth chasing the degree. Like, why couldn't you just try to date someone simultaneously? Why did the degree, if they valued the degree more than value in a home, and they could at least did it at the same time, 50-50, but they were, I'll focus on the family after I get finished school, and I'll focus on the family after this, or after I get this job, or after this, and by the time then you're 28 and you're 32. If you're 28 and you meet someone that's 30, that person that is 30 could date someone that's 22. So why would he go with you if he could get 5 or 6 years younger? Now you have to compete with women younger than you. The older you get and the longer you wait, if you're 34 and another person's 36, he could get a 25-year-old. My preference, I think there should be a 10-year gap minimum. Maybe certain situations 5 or 7. Why do you say a 10-year gap? Easy. Because if he's 18, by the time he's ready to save up to build a house, he'll probably be 25, 27, 28. By the time he's ready to start a family, not just having kids out of wedlock at 23, he's stacking up chips. He got his car. He's 18, 19, 20, 21. He got his car. Bam, paid off. He's good. his paycheck, he's got a home, he's living with his family, stacking. Every month he's stacking $1,000. First year, $12,000. Next year he has $24,000. Next year he has $36,000, $48,000. So this man is like 23, 24, 25 and got 50 G's. So now when he's ready to get married and he finds someone that's 5, 6, 7 years younger, probably if he's 28, he can't go 18, right? But he's ready. He has learned how to build his credit. He has learned how to manage money. He's ready. He's ready to go. He's ready to start that family. So it's like when you chase the degree, most of these women do, and they find out very quickly that the competition is greater now. Hopefully, you sisters in the Almighty won't have to worry about that because you'll be dating people in the Almighty, but you see the outcome of doing it outside the will of the Most High. Isaiah 55 and 6, one more time, and we're done. Isaiah 55 and 6. Yeah, trying to stay home, part of the team. Set up a good plan. You guys got kids in there, getting that age, set up a plan, let them know your expectations. Have it written down if you have to. This is my expectation for the home. I want to set you up for success. If we follow this plan, son, you follow this plan, daughter, you'll be good. Even have her save up chips. And she gets married, she's coming with an emergency fund. Emergency fund, bam. She has 50 G's in her bank account for an emergency. If her man gets hurt on disability, I got you. She can help out a little bit. If a man acts up and she has to dip, man, she got money to dip. She got money for this. If her man say, hey, we don't really have the money to buy a van, all right, she could put some on the van. Hey, if you could make the monthly payments, I could put the down payment on the van. She coming with a little nice little bag to the marriage too. That will only make the family stronger, right? So Isaiah 55 verse 6. We'll start as verse 8. For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, said the Almighty. For as heaven are higher than earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. So the wisdom of this world is foolishness with the Most High. We adopt the biblical culture, and that's what we do. Don't let them shame how we do our stuff. That's the wisdom of the world. They're fools. You know what I'm saying? And if you think you're wise, you need to become a fool so you can have true wisdom that comes from the Most High. So, with all that said and being done, keep standing. Drop standards. Give the Almighty a hand clap. Shalom.